Hi, D&Ders, Game Masters, Dungeon Masters, and all RPGers. I This is my last video of this whole kind of series before I'm going to take a week off. I have to go to my mother-in-law and do some fix the house things. So I'll be gone for about a week. I put a lot of videos out this week. My wife's been out of town with the kids because she's been down visiting grandma. I had to stay here because we got dogs and a giant garden. So we're going to switch it up. I'm going to go down with the boys now, and then she's come back up with the girls. So it's kind of like this thing. So I won't have the time to kind of sit down and put these things together. In my own paranoia, I know we're in a pandemic, and I think that something horrible may happen to me, and I had all these great ideas and I didn't share them. So that's why I'm throwing them out into the universe. It's like spaghetti against the wall. If it sticks for you, fine. It's cooked, you can use it, right? If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not you. It's not your style. Everyone does it differently, right? So my last thing is about something called split screen D&D and our split screen RPG. Once again, this was something I started doing years ago. When I first started playing D&D again, using 5e, I said, wow, I do web pages for my school stuff, and most of this stuff is kind of for me, it's kind of a labor of love. It's front loading a lot of your work. Like if I did something like I'm just clicking on this, I don't want to do this. Why did I click the wrong thing? Go. Some of these things, these are password protected, so you just can't get in there. So some of the stuff I'm going to show you is my password protected section. And the reason why it's password protected is because I don't want my players to come in here and start rooting around and looking at stuff that's in there. And that they just get so curious. I don't blame them. It's too interesting. So I came up with something when I started doing, I actually started back with Strahd down here. I did something called split screen D&D. And how I did that, the first part of the thing, you have a first level character, we would do the death house. And I would have my projector, since I have a home theater kind of thing. I made it up for like $200, right? Just some curtains I use stitch witchery on and whatever. Anyways, I took the projector, put it up in the I think it was the dining room when we first started playing this, against one of the walls, took the pictures down, and had my computer set up, and I extended the screen, which is very easy to do when you do the setup when you hook up a projector, and I would show images to help describe the story, right? So if I said, okay, you're walking around, you're in the fog, gotta sign in, I would show them the fog, and this just helped illustrate the story, okay? So the death house was the first one. It's an appendix in the back, and I turned around and was able to put this guy this is my first thing, and I really liked it. But the idea behind it was like I would talk about, okay, you're coming to fog, you see things behind you, blah 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 blah, and this isn't the right of you. We had this really interesting thing, and then they start at, come to the gates of the town, and so this whole image thing, like I said, projected up. They don't see this part. They're not seeing this screen because it's an extended screen. They only see this screen. So it's called split screen D&D, I guess is what you would call it, right? So then this is an image mapper, right? And I have a computer program that does image map. And so what happened was as they went into rooms, I would click and they would see the room that they're in, and they would make a decision. We still had the playing mat out with the I guess I used the Crayola washable or something like it, crowns instead of the markers. Markers seemed to stain more. We had we originally just had stones, the aquarium stones that you could buy at the dollar store for a bag for $1. And some of them I put white out on and numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you look at one of my other videos, I have pawns and the numbers are actually written on whiteout. I took white out and put it on there a number. I didn't have money for I put my money into the books. I didn't put money into all the minis and stuff. You get really extravagant with this hobby. I started doing a lot of the main character minis because everybody wanted a character. You do this, and I use the pawns for the monsters. Monsters switch up so much. So, like I said, this is one of those things you just want to do what works for you. Okay. So obviously went through Curse of Strahd. This was the death house, and it goes all the way through everything here. Every one of these images pops something out. It's big fun for play. I actually took like Rappan Athuk, and I'll show you that next thing, and imported some of the images up to play on Roll20 because I was having a real problem with a group of 8 people not being able to play Roll20. It's staticking out or something like that, blacks out. I think it was the dynamic lighting. I don't know. Maybe it's I'm on the Eastern Shore of Maryland and we don't have that, I guess the 5G. I don't know. It's just not working, and I kind of had to go into Zoom. If I went into Zoom, I would share one of these screens. I'd pop it out. I was doing things like that as well. So like I said, it was a nice little backup. I'm just showing you what I did. I mean, some people were kind of curious because I keep sending my website. What is all this stuff? I can't even get in. Well, it's the backstories. Here's Curse of Strahd. This actually we can go back and look at Mines of Fendelver. This was the one of all the different things. It's the same thing. You click on it, and it would take you to the different pieces. So this is a really cool entry module. I did this way. This had my monsters I would click on, and you go over and it show you the map of the coast. I love to DM like this because it's, once again, it's front loaded work. You'll spend hours on it, and because you care about it, but it's there forever, and that's what was a really great thing about it. The other one I liked was obviously Curse of Strahd was huge. Uh, this one, obviously Death House, and then you have the Barovian Village. This thing had its thing. At first, I was doing it this way, and then I kind of switched up a little bit. And Argonost Holt came out like this. That was a really great battle. When I used this in the game, I actually went through and put each one of these grids or something like that on a PowerPoint and laid it all out on the dining room table. I had it covered up with a tablecloth. And my gaming group came that day. I was going to do something totally different. And I had a whole bunch of minis. And I said, the light, you guys illuminated the light of Argonost Holt, and now you have to, and it was a great setup, you have to maintain the light through the evening because Strahd's coming to get it, and he sends Strahd zombies and flesh golems and swarms of bats, and they had to take positions. They had like 25 guys. Everybody had X amount of guys to help fight, and batches of dice being rolled, trying to survive through the whole night. It's things. Two characters died that evening. Rahadin came in and cut them to ribbons. Never, don't tie up with that. Psychic damage is 20, just walks by you. But this was an amazing battle. This went on for, I think we played like 6 hours that night with 8 people, just in total deficit. They would get, it would come in waves. And this is the DM part of me. I would take, everything was made up ahead of time. I had exactly what I was going to do in envelopes, written out, sealed, and put on the table. And I said, I've already have my plans for the evening. You guys come up with your plans. So they had to come up with the first wave plan. They don't know which direction I'm attacking with, what I'm coming in with, all this stuff's going on. And it was a real good, it was really thrilling. It was one of the most interesting dungeon. I just kind of came up with it on a whim. Lots of fun. Obviously, this has the giant, beautiful Ravenloft. This is all image mapped. Once again, if I click this, it'll pop out whatever I'm looking at. And this is actually images from the book as well to kind of help illustrate. There's that heart up there. That's kind of cool, right? The crystal heart. And this, like I said, this is just part of it. Obviously, this is a hobby I'm kind of over the top into. I also have a different method of doing. This was Halloween. My wife and I were talking. She really loves Gothic horror. She loved Curse of Strahd. We started going into more of a dungeon thing back in the OSR movement. So for this one, I decided to go ahead and do Sleepy Hollow. And these were the characters across the top. Father Peter McGlinchey. I'd show people what they look like. They didn't know what they were going to be till they walked in the room. And there was random. You rolled a dice, you got a card, and it just so happened everybody got a character they could play out. And my friend Brent did a very, very interesting Irish accent for Father Peter McGlinchey. He did an excellent job. And this was, I incorporated musket guns into this, kind of putting it the turn of century thing. Another friend of mine did Sister Joseph's Fires, and she was awesome. And that was a silver rosary that she could use to whip demons with. She did a great job. I love that character. My wife got to play Constance Kenley, who was an alchemist and made alchemy bombs. That's a Baghdad battery, actually. I just put that in there because it's cool. And she'd have a suit. She would hand crank this thing and had a capacitor, and she would use like like a shocking grasp. I mean, yeah, we came up with this turn of the century concept. She didn't actually get to play. We didn't have a character for her. Ida Mae Thursley had a silver thing. She had several silver arrows she could throw as darts, and she had this as a backstabbing thing. She had amazing thieving ability. Sir Bartholomew Leavenworth, he actually had a musket gun. He was the fighter. He actually had a saber too. This was such a fun adventure because I just took the story of Sleepy Hollow and cut it up, and this was just images I threw on the screen. It's a very different way of playing. I tried to do something new. It was much more RPG, and obviously I would have like images I'd throw up based on what was happening at that time, and they had like this is split screen D&D. Our RPG is really fun because you could try it many different ways, and this was one way I did it, which was probably how a lot of people do RPG stuff. Now I'm going to show you my opus of cut 'em up, and I don't think I'll ever do anything this magnificent ever again. This is the infamous Rappan Athuk. Don't go down the well. The funny thing about Rappan Athuk is it's a monster. These are all individual levels As you can see, it's a crazy, crazy map. And I got the book because I saw the review. I think it was Undead Viking did it, showed it, and was talking about it. And I was like, I got to have that book. It's so big. It's a $100 module. It comes with the PDF. So I took the PDF and immediately started cutting. And I came up with each one of these things has a module. Each one of these things pops out into a picture that I show. And they got to kind of map as they go or they're going to get lost, right? And it was so much fun. I played this, I think, with a total of 3 groups. They never completed it. It's so big you can't. I guess you could drop a floor into any level you want, but everything goes somewhere. And so you could get really lost. You know, you keep going down. If you keep going down, you'll get stuck. I like the image maps. Some people are kind of like, oh, they're not as pretty as the ones that were in Strahd. Yeah, but this thing's like so cool. I guess because I can see the back door of it, which makes it look amazing as far as the things. I actually the one drawback that people always said about Rappan Athuk, and if you ever get to do the module, my advice to you is you have to have a home base, somewhere to come back to RPG. Otherwise, it's just a straight dungeon crawl nonstop. And a lot of people just aren't into that. So I took Zelker's Ferry. They came in on the, I think it was the Yellowknife, was the name of the ship. All right. And when they came in here, they met, I think, Odin Bristleback. He was the one that, here's a picture of Odin. He's the guy that ran a thing. And of course, you have to kind of get into the module, find out all he does, right? And it was kind of cool because they go to the Mouth of Doom, and that's where they entered, right? And then they left. Okay, this is about like 10 or 11 middle school kids that were playing this game. They really enjoyed it. We had a thing going on, I think it was last summer, 2 summers ago. Maybe it's just 2 summers ago. We played every other week for about 4 or 5 hours, and the kids were way into it. It was just so much fun. And then what happens? They start meeting girls. Then your life's over. You're not gaming anymore, unless you're bringing the girl to the game, and then you can't do that in middle school because all the other boys get mad, and after a while they start saying, "You've changed." So anyways, I just don't want to get into all that, but it was sort of so much fun playing with a group of kids, especially when they had to do that cooperative play and everybody had to work together. So this was a fantastic module. I did this with an adult group. They came in and they had, you have to give them I gave them a little more to work with. And with the adult group, they had a candle for every one of the altars of Orcus. And it was you had to burn the candle on the altar to dispel. Otherwise, Orcus is going to gate in and destroy the whole world. So they came in to keep on the borderlands. And then there was like some kind of cult thing. And then I came into this module. They started in the graveyard. And when they came in there, like I said, you have to give them a reason why you're going into Rappan Athuk. Besides just money, because money is not much of a motivator when you're playing, because people don't understand its experience. Okay, I got it. But what is our reason? You have to give them that push. You stick a paladin and a cleric saying, we have to do this to vanquish evil. And you say, how could you vanquish evil? Well, I have 6 candles I got to put on the altars of Orcus. Once they're all lit and all but born, he cannot enter this domain. It's a beautiful way to play Rappan Athuk because it gives them a direction. They actually got to one of them. I don't know what level that was. And in my games, if you roll a double 20, like if you roll a 20, that's a crit. You roll another one, that's an instant kill. And there was I think a 12th level cleric casting a spell, and Osprey was the cleric. My friend Rachel, she was playing Osprey, a little halfling, I think it was, and he fired once and he fired twice. 2 arrows, 2 shots around, both of them. She came up with double 20. And yeah, he was gating in several rocks to come and chew their butts up, but she stopped it. She's an amazing person, so she took that out. I remember everyone cheered. I think we toasted too at the end of it because what's the odds of that? Especially, it was the crucial part of the game. I think that was in the 4th level, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna try to hunt this down, like I can remember that far back. It had to be in 4th, didn't it? Was it 4? Is this it? Probably not. No, that's not it. And I think overall, like I said, you have to make the games your own. There it is. This is where it happened. Yeah, this is where the mess was occurring. Upper Temple. Let's see if I can see a picture of it. Yes. So this is where yeah, Rachel shot this guy twice. Osprey. Yep, did it. Everybody high five. It was so exciting. Yeah, memory lane. So that's kind of what the game's about, is having those memories. Like we still talk about the double shot, the double tap. The idea of actually getting to the sky, it's just so hard to believe that there's a day. So, some days I guess you just kind of luck out, right? And you just do what you need. So this is the Orc Priest. This is a picture where he looks, no, that's a different dude. But where was I? I'm clicking these things. This is the, and sometimes when they finish it, you can always do this. They finish the level. Let's see what your map looks like. Then my map, I'll put the whole map up and see if their image matches what I've done. So like split screen D&D, I gotta take old now here. I keep looking at them, but upper temple color. Oh yes, they redid all the images. Okay, this is after I put this together. I don't think I can load it. They're so huge, I can't really use them. And I actually tried to use one of them in Roll20, and even then, it's so big, it lags the screen. So I mean, images are great if you got that horsepower to run the things. But this was an image. I saw it on Frog God Games because I love their products. They're amazing, but this is supposed to be that same room, I believe, right? So this is just illustrated such. So when you look at this thing, this is obviously the upper temple. This is what we used, all right? But what it's supposed to be, and I kind of showed them later on, because I, always thinking maybe we'll come back to it. This is what it's supposed to look like. Here's the priest right here. So, like I said, I've jammered on for a while. I'm just letting you know, split screen D&D is really a fun way of doing things, because it makes it sort of, how would you say, just it's easy, it's front-loaded work. Some people, it's more work that anybody would put into a hobby, but I'm kind of nerdy, so that's what I'll do. I also show one last thing. I do experience points because I see lots of comments on how you do experience points. I do it as a Google sheet. I show people where they are at the end of the day. I log everything in, who gets what credit for what. Okay, so when they get in, I think these guys start off at 3rd level because they were tender. Now I think what I do, instead of starting at 3rd level, you start at 1st level, but you get your Constitution points, whatever your Constitution is, let's say 12 points, added to your hit points to start with, so you're not so tender and you die right away. I think it's they don't want to invest in a character that's going to be deceased really quickly. So this is one of those things that I do now. I used to say start at 3rd because that's what Gary Gygax did. There's a bunch of other guys over here. We got wow, how many characters do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There was 11 people that were somehow involved in this game. So, like I said, I thank you for listening. I hope it gave you some ideas, some inspiration. Like this thing is just an Excel Google file, and you can see it just summed the column B3 to B301. Whenever I add something here, you can see what happens. Like if they killed sleeping bears, I put 100 here. Watch the number right here when I enter it. I'm going to hit it. Boom. It should go up to 2280, right? So the cool thing about it, let me take that off because he didn't kill no sleeping bandits. Okay, so it was, this is something, like I said, split screen dude. I showed them at the end of the night. I level up in the module. Some people say, whoa, we got to go back to town. You got to get experience points. I see it this way. You're doing things and receiving the experience as you go for doing it, and it automatically accrues as it happens. So that's the way I do it. All DMs do it differently or up and down or whatever it is. But what makes it fun, I think, when you're playing with a group of kids, that they're really deciding how much they want to push that envelope, because I'm so close to being the next level. Is it worth fighting those 4 gargoyles? Because I get it. It's sort of funny kind of having, especially with middle school kids, there has to be a little more of the dangling of the carrot just to get them to do some risky behavior, which makes the game fun. And with that, I thank you so much for listening. I want you to have an excellent day. And like I said, I'm going to take a hiatus. And my next group of videos, if you've been watching my stuff, is going to go into White Star, because it's white box for sci-fi. I've taken that and did a lot of stuff with it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And with that, I will see you guys or listen to you guys, or you guys will hear me later on. All right. Bye-bye now.